after I reflected, then I saw those things. I saw my insecurity, my jealousy, and how the starter, because most of the time it was the starter.
Sure.
You know, because when I would, and what was beautiful, she used to live on a taxi route. So I can check and then remela on the side. You know.
Yes.
Then I can taxi. When we would get into a conflict at that time, I would just step away from her, look around, wait for a taxi, point a taxi, get into the taxi and leave. And the following day I will come and say, you know, this is what I wanted to say. I wanted to say this, I wanted to say.
When you now gathered yourself.
So, yes.
Yeah.
So now, through that, then I learned. I mean, that was 1984, man.
Sure.
It was not even fashionable to even discuss gender or domestic violence, as it probably was called then. It was not fashionable. And I confronted that. I did what I later found to be, that was time out. I took time out of an argument and left.
So she never got you arrested? She never went to the police?
No, and
I know for the situation young, because if you did go also, to the police, they're gonna say these are problems.
So you can't ask me that kind of question. But what I will say also, we also have grown up at a time when ibile sometimes some girls would say,
my grandmother.
You know?
My grandmother's sister would say to my grandmother, Nare, because munna hai nasa mushab, and she would say, wena o like hor, waha wa rata, and you know wa rata because wa shapa. So the mentality has been around.
Exactly, has been around. And it, see, like those are things, like when we talk about these things, we don't address them. And we don't address also the aspect of when there is an argument between partners. What is it that they say to each other? And how do they even learn how to filter certain things? At this present moment, it doesn't mean I don't meet or I've never met with girls who will say horrible things to me, you know? But this is what I actually learned out of, my whole journey. That if I can filter the BS, my own BS, and then after filtering it, throw it away and kesale le muro, something that nourishes me. What more that when you come and you throw garbage at me, that I don't sift it and leave you with your garbage.
I'm impressed though that you caught yourself and that you are the one who, without some campaign, without any talking community, who said, okay, next time Kifila so, because I don't want to do this anymore. I realize it's wrong and I recognize where it comes from. That you put into action, okay, let me get and come back when I've cooled down. What would you attribute that to, that some other men don't have those light bulb moments, but when you had it?
I don't know, you have to allow yourself. Like people, sometimes we do have solitary moments that we don't want to hear. If God exists, if really God exists, He lives in your conscience.
That is so powerful.
If God exists, lives in your conscience. And that God, actually, I think you experience them even when you are a child. Ultra condense. And that God operates again, you know you're doing something wrong. Your first case, and I could imagine, like, after it's almost,
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And also, here's another thing as well. The very first clap that you do as a man, I don't know. And I've spoken with men and working about that. After doing it,
Utsugile because you didn't expect that
you would do it. And at that time now, you even waiting to see how you now react as well. And as I react in a way to react now, it's controller blind. Then you reinforce it for yourself. That's how life is. And that's how I think the human condition is. You know what I mean? I mean, first time, Luena, maybe other thing, maybe let's say, doing radio for the first time. You nervous. You know? But you go and nothing happens.
And then you keep going.
And it's okay.
Sure.
And you're like, oh, all right, I can do this. I can do this. We don't look at human behavior as how it actually manifests itself in little things. You know what I mean? And I would imagine even, for instance, Lee Manyana, when the very first time they say something horrible to a man or to their boyfriends, sometimes how is he going to react? I can do it again. And they do it again.
But I think also rage, if we use the two examples, even if we remove gender, because there's a Netflix documentary, I think it's on Netflix, about a man who has been physically abused by his wife. And he had to set up cameras for people to see how serious it is. And you also get men who say disgusting things. But there's a level of rage, because when you, from what you're saying, you still sound like you were conscious in that moment. There is a rage that happens where people don't even remember what they did or said. Do you think, and I feel like just drive in Joburg and you'll know people have anger issues. Do you think a lot of people have a lot of anger issues? You see it with road rage and I mean blind rage where it was not that deep that you got cut off, but
I'll tell you, life is beautiful in its ugliness. After having gone on this journey, I lapsed at some point. I will not mention years, but I lapsed. And in my relapse, in that short space of time when I was in this relationship, there was so much rage that built up in me. I was hurting like nobody's business. And this person was hurting me. Kangwan. Because women have this thing, ho batla tsamaya. Bare ho tsamaya ho itsuru ka sebutlolo mona ngwana. And that was a sore point to me. One time I even went on my knees, literally. She was standing, I went down on my knees. I said, please, let's not go there. But no, it's okay, no. And one day, you know what? This is not working. Kare, ho tsamaya. It's a horno, First I said, I don't know how many times I've told you that this thing is painful. Now I'll make you feel it. On that one, I really, maybe we could have spoken something if ever there wasn't an intervention of some sort where somebody and Tswara saw. It would get very hard.
So you were that angry. She could have died, basically.
Exactly. And that time, Linda, I was blind. It was blind rage.